Tony, for most of your roster, this will be their first ACC tournament. What do you tell those guys in particular to kind of prepare them for this experience?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot you can say. You just try to prepare well in practice, but it's it's akin to you start the season and you play non-conference, and it's high level, it's intense, and you get into conference play, and the physicality and the intensity perhaps goes up a notch, and the value of each possession increases. Then you get into postseason play, ACC conference tournament, and you feel that a little more. It's kind of the one and done where the intensity, physicality, the value of the possession goes up. So it's how we've tried to play. We've been in so many games this year that have been close for us to, when we've played well, we've had to be in some tight games. And my hope is that's prepared us for that. And even at the last few games, being in some games that, whether you call them must-win or very significant, important games that you have to show up and play, all that stuff, you use that positively, but you have to set your mind on what you can control and get after it, and then play as tenacious and as sound and free as you can.
What is the difference for a shooter? And you were a shooter in college and in the NBA, being in a different gym, because you guys have shot it so well. At home, sometimes on the road, it's not there. Kind of inside basketball, what changes?
Yeah, I mean, it always starts, rhythm, trying to get good shots, and some teams defensively they make it hard, and they crowd guys, but sometimes it's just a feel. Some days you just feel it, and that's why what you can control. You better be really good in tournament play on defensively. You can't give an inch there. But as far as a shooter, you have to have a short memory. You have to be able to work to get the good looks, and we've had some guys, I mean, I think at Florida State there's a few games, obviously, where we've shot it well on the road in different places, and of course, there have been some times at home where we haven't shot it. So I think it's the quality, the look, the rhythm, and, having the right kind of mindset and not being so fixated, I missed one or two, and just you keep shooting the good shots and getting it. But as far as depth perception, most of these guys have played in big arenas, different arenas, pro arenas, and so that's it. We play 9:30. You don't get your normal warm-up. I think you get like 20 minutes once that, and so you get out there, so it's a little shorter warm-up. So those things. I'm trying to think if we've done that this year. I don't know if we've been in that. I think when we played Florida, right? It was because Liberty and Charlotte played before us. And so, we had to shoot around that day in the arena, so we won't get that. So there's little subtleties, but again, it still comes down to balls tipped, immerse yourself in the game like we've tried to do, and be right.
Rhodey didn't play in the last game. Is that injury related, and will he be available this week in the
Yeah,
tournament?
absolutely. No, we shortened the rotation. We just, practice-wise, I thought, let's take a look at Tane. Tane had shot the ball well and practiced well, and said, let's see if we can stretch the defense a little bit. And so I gave Tane a look early, and I thought, he had a couple nice drives, was playing well. There was good chemistry, the way the game was going. And I thought about, using Andrew in that game, but we just shortened the rotation with Dante and Tane. And then at times we used, whether you want to call our bigger lineup when we had Jake and Ryan and either Blake or Jordan. But it just went that way. But by no means, I mean, he's helped us get to this spot. And like Tane, like Jordan, like Andrew, all of them, just be ready. Practice well, be ready, because different games call on different things. And, from that standpoint, it wasn't injury-related. It was just the rotation and what I thought was going on in that game.
Yeah, Tony, going off of that, rotation-wise, y'all have used 11 guys this year, and I know you want to get a little bit shorter when you get to postseason play, so around 8 like you've had against Georgia Tech. How much is that influenced, throughout the week of practice, and do you kind of feel like you're close to what you want that rotation to look like?
Yeah, every time you say that, it can change, and that's why just because all those guys have played, I think that's they're available and they're ready, and again, the game will dictate it. So, but that was a nice rotation, the way that game played. They defended well, spaced the floor, and played good basketball. So we went with that. Could be the same next game, but certainly other guys could step up. And, you wish at this stage you'd say this is our hard and fast 7, 8 guys, unless there's foul trouble. But we're in a spot, I think, where everyone has helped us and everyone needs to be ready. And, again, what the game dictates.
Kind of a, excuse me, kind of a weird stat, but you guys are 14-0 when you shoot 35% or higher from 3-point.
Let's shoot 35% and test
yeah.
that model.
How much, I know you don't formulate all your game plans around that, but how much does the 3-point play work into what you're trying to accomplish? Do you feel like you have to shoot well to win games?
Yeah, well, obviously there's some games that we won that we were below that. So you look at that, you know, obviously there's, what do we have, how many wins? 22, so that means there's 8 more games, right? If my math is correct from my college days. Yeah, that's important to get good looks. You know, we're not a dominant scoring team where we just feed it in the post, go to work, score, and get those. We don't always get a ton of free throw attempts, and that, quite honestly, our free throw percentages haven't been good. All those things matter when you're on a fine line. So the ability to get guys rhythm shots, as we talked about, to take them and get those, but try to find maybe the defense creates different baskets, an O to D, a defense that turn over to a transition. So all those things matter, but certainly offense, you can't always be sure, is it going to be there? Are you going to make them where you're going to be at? And that's why you know, with every team but tournament play, like, you have to know what the defense is going to bring. I kind of look at it with this team. When we've been a little off defensively, we haven't been able to win. Maybe Florida State, that one game, but that has to be the constant. And then offensively in tournament play, you know, hopefully you can get quality looks, guys can make plays and have enough. And that's kind of been with this team a little more its story. The year that the COVID year in 2020, that was a defensive team that just found ways to win in that regard. But certainly you look to get 3-point shots. You look to get the Jake Groves, Isaac McNeely's, hence Tane Murray, why he was in that last game. He stretched it a little bit, and other guys, Reese, of course. It does. You know the saying, shooting covers over a multitude of sins. And so, you know, you want that, but you don't rely on it. But that is an interesting stat.
Yeah, and just to follow up on it, with Tane playing well recently, could he be the X factor for you guys in the postseason?
You never know. I think everyone has to, you know, be in that spot, and he certainly was. I mean, I thought, again, Reese was terrific in that game. Isaac, you know, everybody had their moments, but that was that really helped us. And he was physical. It's not even always sometimes about making the shot. It's about taking the shot and making the defense understand this guy's capable. But I like some of Tane's tough physical drives. You know, he's a rugged guy, and, you know, defensively he'll rebound and do things. So, but we've had that with games, and sometimes it's been Andrew, or it's been, you know, different guys at different times. So all that stuff's important. But yeah, no, I was really so happy for him because of how he's just kept working. And I thought it did, at least in that last game, provide the X factor or a spark.
You shared after the Boston College, I think, game, the text from your dad about, you know, putting pressure into the game, not
Right.
putting pressure on yourself for the game. You're going to this tournament really for the first time in a long time, needing to get yourself, you know, solidified in the NCAA tournament. You've only got one real veteran guy who's been through it. How much pressure will there be on your gang, and how do you try to mitigate that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that remains to be seen when the tournament selection comes. We've won 22 games. We finished third place by ourselves, 13-7, and in football, any pro sport, what place did you finish? Did you win the games? You won the games, and so you've positioned yourself to be in that spot. But certainly, you want to go into whoever you play and play well and try to keep momentum going and be successful, so it takes gray areas out of it. But again, I think the last number of games have been in that realm of, you know, this is a really important game, must win, or super important, significant. And so I think hopefully that experience helps. And again, you can only control so much. And it's just being as ready as you can and bringing it, and then playing as, again, tough-minded and with a level of freedom in the game. You can't become something you're not, and understanding that. You know, again, this has been, you know, we've been on that line trying to get in the tournament, and then on the bubble out, then we played our way in, and we're right there. And again, who knows how it'll all play out as this thing goes on.
He faced some stiff competition from Ryan, but Reese repeated as ACC Defensive
Yeah.
Player of the Year. Was he just the same Reese, or did he even elevate his performance at that end of the floor this year?
Yeah, well, I'd like to say this, and this is remarkable. I had Bach check this out. I said, has there ever back-to-back defensive players of the year? There's only been 3 in the history of ACC basketball. Never has there been a guard, a point guard, do that. You know, it's a lot of times the shot blockers. I think John Henson was the last one with them, and I can't remember who it was before that. That's remarkable. To be a back-to-back defensive player of the year and the only guard in the history of ACC basketball. You think of those fine players, those fine defenders, remarkable. So the thing that was amazing to me about Reese, or I was so proud of, is he had to be right on both ends of the floor for us to be competitive in games. And it forced him. And I think offensively, he had 64 more assists than any other point guard in the league. Offensively, what he's had to do, but defensively, specifically your question, yeah, I just think he's a year stronger. He's a year wiser. And yes, you know, he came in with some of those instincts and that anticipation I've talked about often, but just remarkable. And absolutely, he's a first-team All-ACC player. I mean, come on. Like, everyone knows that. But in saying that, you know, I feel like Ryan could have got more, Isaac McNeely. But I say that. But this is a good league, and they're such good players. So I'm very thankful for the recognition they got. But as far as what Reese did to make us finish third, to be the back-to-back defensive player shown offensively, that's, you know, I'll just refer to him as great job making first-team All-ACC. So I'm good. But I think we all know that. And, you know, that's what it is. What's that? Oh, really? Oh, that's good. See, the media know way better than but I think that's, in this one, it's coaches and media. So we just had the wrong media voting, I guess that's it. So. Or the wrong coaches, right? Not this coach. So, but no, you know, that's, and I say that tongue in cheek, and I mean that about Reese. There's really good players in this league, and it's, I think, different. We only have 5 on the first team, 5 on the second, 5 on the third, and you have to get 10 votes to be honorable mention. And some leagues do 10. I feel like we did that. I mean, I've been here. Yeah, the women do 10. So, you know, and I don't, whether it was Reese was the 6th or 7th, Armando didn't get it. So I just think, where did he place his team? But yeah, that's good to know, though. Good.
Another one on Reese, Coach, over here.
Yep.
Coach Stoudemire, after the game on Saturday, said that Reese reminded him of Malcolm Brogdon, who he got to coach last year with the Celtics.
That's right.
Do you see similarities between their games on the floor and then in their demeanor off the court as well?
Yeah, their demeanor, I'll start with that, very, very humble. As a matter of fact, Malcolm's nickname by his brothers was Humble Moses. His middle name was Moses. They called him Humble Moses. Extremely humble. And they have a level, they're kind of flatliners, and I think that's good. Don't get too up, don't get too down, and you see that in Reese, their ability to take over the game defensively, because Malcolm was an ACC Defensive and National Player of the Year defensively. So you see that. Offensively, you know, a little different body-wise. Malcolm was a little more of a, you know, physical drive or brute strength, where Reese touches the paint and does things. But, yeah, the way they can impact the game on both ends, there are certainly some similarities, and I sure hope, you know, Reese has the same kind of career Malcolm does professionally, and I think this year has made – I look at Reese, I always tell players, hey, if you played yourself in a game of one-on-one or in a 5-on-5 game a year ago today, would you be able to beat yourself or dominate that person? And you know, that's always a sign, did I improve? And I really see the improvement in Reese and what he was forced to do, and I think, as I've said a few times, that should bode well for his professional career. And yeah, the similarities of, you know, kind of a defensive, complete, off, you know, guard. I see that in Malcolm. Maybe not the physical stature, but that's good. And he knows. He's played it, and he's, you know, coached Malcolm and seen it. So that's high praise.
Hey, Tony, playing late at night, 9:30 on Thursday and maybe again on Friday. What are the challenges, if any, of getting a team ready to play that late in the day?
I think it's more of a challenge for you, Marty, and me. So that's, I think, the reality of it. I think the younger generation they're okay. Just don't play at probably 7 in the morning or 8 in the morning. But, yeah, you know, we played Boston College at 9, was it? Or 8, 9, and played last game at 8. So it's just, you know, you move everything back an hour with your your preparation. So it's just being ready. I think the biggest thing is, if you play the first game, you get an hour before to go through your normal routine and warm up. If you play the second game, pretty much you get out there and you got your 20-minute warm up before. It's all driven kind of by the TV times for that. So that's where it's different.